You failed to tell the viewers how men have authority over women. All you said was, men have authority, this must change because anarchism. Last I checked, I can't go up to a woman and say, I have authority over you, so you must have sex with me. Women have the same rights and freedoms as men, at least in the West. To me, feminism is just another ism that people use to keep fighting with each other. You didn't actually put forth any solid argument against what TJ said, and therefore, I'm to believe that he's right here. If you were trying to separate real feminism from radical Tumblr feminism, I'm afraid you didn't do a good job of it. Just because women won't follow your every command does not mean oppression does not exist. That's a very black and white view. Either there is complete oppression or none at all. Men have a lot more privilege than women. They can dress how they like without fear and walk the streets at night without fear. They can see their gender widely represented in the media as actual people rather than eye candy or one-note characters. They can be more easily hired at an age when they have the possibility of having a child, and so much more. Ignoring the obvious stupidity from these examples, there's just one major problem with your argument. You don't know what the word privilege means. A privilege is a right or immunity. So please tell me, what right or immunity do men have that women don't? I'll wait. Your argument seems to stem from the idea of you refuse to believe in the patriarchy. Actually, it's not that people refuse to believe it, it's that you refuse to prove it. If you had evidence for its existence, actual evidence, not God the Gap's nonsense where you look at an outcome and make up whatever cause you want, then you would provide it. Since you refuse to provide it, we can only assume that you have none. And since you have no evidence, you have absolutely no logical reason to believe it yourself. And if you have no reason to believe it yourself, and yet propagate it anyway, we can only conclude you're a liar. And if you don't believe it yourself, why the hell should other people believe it just because you tell them to? All God the Gap's arguments do is prove that something could exist. It comes nowhere close to proving that it does. Berating people for refusing to believe in the patriarchy, even though women aren't the majority of government officials, is the same as berating people for refusing to believe in leprechauns, even though Ireland exists. You sound exactly like the people who deny evolution, saying that there is no evidence, when in fact the evidence is all over the place. Women are oppressed, by other women surely, but mostly by men. Does that tell us nothing to you? We live in a society that systematically denies rights to women and treat them as second-class citizens. The power in our society is centered in the male figure. The majority of rulers are men, the majority of soldiers and cops are men, the majority of CEOs are men, and so on and so forth. The man is the protector, the provider, while the woman is the submissive mother who has to bear the children and take care of the household. Men who have sexual relationships with a great number of women are considered alphas, while women that have sexual relationships with a great number of men are considered whores or sluts. I can list other asymmetries that prove that patriarchy does in fact exist, but I hope you've understood my point by now. Women are oppressed, by other women surely, but mostly by men. Does that tell nothing to you? Claim without proof. Good stuff. We live in a society that systematically denies rights to women and treat them as second-class citizens. What rights are women denied in this society? Tell me what they are. The majority of rulers are men, the majority of soldiers and cops are men, the majority of CEOs are men, and so on and so forth. And the homeless, and those working in the sewers, and the lowest level jobs. You say the majority of rulers are men? Yes, they are. And they are put in power by a majority female voter who has control over who gets into power. If you were to demonstrate, perhaps, that women were denied the ability to run for positions of power, that would be actual evidence of a system working against them. However, that isn't the case. Your entire second paragraph is the God of the Gaps argument I already preemptively decried in my opening comment, and yet you've gone ahead and thrown it around anyway. If the patriarchy exists, you should be able to provide actual evidence of its existence without relying on this type of non-argument. I could list other asymmetries that prove that patriarchy does in fact exist. Or you could provide some actual documentary evidence. As it stands, these two different groups of people act different to one another. Therefore, there's a secret organization that controls every aspect of society that's run by men who hate women. There is no other possible explanation. It's not a real argument. Fantastic. Well done. Again, you MRAs continue to ignore all the evidence, as patriarchy is one of those most well-studied areas in sociology. Jesus fucking Christ, read Sociology 101. Patriarchy has been studied for over 100 years. One of the founding documents of sociology field was on patriarchy in 1884, the origin of the family, private property, and the state. Now, why would I want to read something that's been tainted by feminism? 2. I find it hilarious that you just find it coincidental that men just make up the vast majority of every position of power, yet women make up the majority of the population. Again, you MRAs just continue to ignore all the evidence, as patriarchy is one of those most well-studied areas in sociology. Yelling is evidence! Roar! 2. I find it hilarious that you just find it coincidental that men just make up the vast majority of every position of power. When did I ever say it was coincidental? I merely suggested that perhaps there was an alternative explanation than yours. It's called not having an unjustifiable confirmation bias. If your explanation is correct, then your evidence should bear that out. Oh, wait, you don't have any. Never mind. LOL, women vote at higher rates than men. How the hell can a patriarchy exist when women have the most voting power? I know. Logic is hard. Oh god, I love the whiny fedora donners who get butthurt every time someone brings up misogyny. Reactionary morons. Pretty much every whiny comment I've received has gone down one of these paths. Number 1. Make straw arguments, which usually entail the following. A. Claiming that feminists want female superiority, sexual privileges, etc. B. Claiming that feminists think all men are necessarily immune to all other systems of oppression. Number 2. Bring up instances in which men are disadvantaged. These disadvantages are typically due to A. Patriarchy itself, and or B. Class. Continue to scream when feminists point this out or refer back to previous straw arguments. Blame feminism for these disadvantages. Somehow. Claim that these disadvantages invalidate patriarchy theory, despite them being consistent with patriarchy theory. Number 3. Ask for evidence of patriarchy. Upon receiving evidence, either A. Ignore the given evidence, B. Deny that the given evidence is accurate, or C. Accept the evidence. If the evidence is accepted, claim that either A. It is inevitable as a result of biology, or B. A coincidence, or C. A result of totally free choices and no amount of socialization whatsoever. And there's a handy guide on how to be an anti-feminist in MRA, or MRA. The MRA position is a purely emotional response. It makes sense they use nonsense argumentation. You know, I find it ironic that in this guy's video, he claims that MRAs and anti-feminists and equalists all misrepresent feminism. Yet he did the exact same thing to MRAs and anti-feminists in this comment. And the other guy here is just egging him on. It just boggles my mind how somebody can have double think like that. It just boggles my mind. Mind actually explain these nonsense arguments? Yeah, he's not gonna do that. He's just gonna slap his comment on the table like a dead fish as if it were fact, and then fuck the hell off, thinking to himself, well, my work here is done. Very true. Patriarchy is made up like the bogeyman, and you using nonsense like that to further a political agenda shows what childlike kind of mind you have. You are an utter idiot. Upon receiving evidence. What evidence? Saying that men are the majority in politics? Yes, because men are the majority in politics, therefore that is evidence for patriarchy because there is no other possibility, right? You may call that evidence, but I call it narrow-minded. Agreed. Or it is the worst patriarchy ever, with all those laws benefiting women like VAWA. Grow up, people. There's no way in hell you can be an MRA or anti-feminist and support a non-hierarchical anarchist society. The dominance of patriarchy in society is as obvious as the dominance of capitalism. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's just so funny reading this guy's comment. The very fact that the reactions to this video have been so outrageously violent and vehement is proof of the patriarchy's dominance. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep a straight face. The construction of the isolated nuclear family and patriarchy are two of the backbones of the capitalist mode of production and the maintenance of the status quo of the current classist power system. You will never dismantle the current state or capitalism without also dismantling patriarchy. Yeah, I'll be over here in reality. Let me know when you're ready to join me. While I admire your take on this, you still don't seem to take a holistic view. Women have issues. Nobody denies this. Literally nobody. Not even tradcons. Now let's look at men's issues. Very real, almost universal, and widely marginalized. If men are advantaged and therefore unimportant when addressing the power dynamic because women have no power, then why do we see women's issues placed prominent and men's completely ignored? Men are roughly 40% of domestic violence victims, but in the UK, there are 180 places for women for every one for a man in shelters. Basically, you are buying into the position feminists take of comparing women as a whole with men as individuals, focusing exclusively on the elite. When you compare a male CEO with the average woman, you bet your ass a man is privileged. When you compare the average woman to the average man, I'm fairly sure the picture is very, very different. By dismissing all criticism of feminism, which you did here with zero explanation or insight, you effectively undermined your own position. You did not advocate for feminism here. You quite literally dismissed any gendered issues that are not feminist, and that puts you in a very, very bad position. You may have originally been critical of feminism because of peer pressure or something, but my own criticism of feminism has only ever been detrimental for me, socially speaking. I criticize feminism for what it does, not because I was told to by some right-wing fuckwit. Well, if no one denies it, why do these problems still exist? Because patriarch sheep don't do shit against it. Really? The majority of voters are women. Women's issues make up a significant part of the platform of every major party, even when they suck on the issues. How often do the Republicans desperately try to appeal to the women? Remove your head from your arse. Everyone has issues. Society isn't perfect. Blaming it on an invisible monster, or all men, is straight up bigotry and stupidity. Well said. Not enough women in politics equals misogyny? Really? So an overwhelmingly male ruling class doesn't seem to favor one gender over the other to you? Do you think it's unimportant what kind of people hold political power in the society? Facepalm. If the questions are deserving of a facepalm, they should be easy to answer, right? I'd love to hear your answers. Unless you were just talking off your ass, which I strongly suspect. Ad hominem chololo. Technically, it's non-ad hominem because he didn't attack your character, or she didn't attack your character in order to undermine your argument. He or she was just attacking your character to be an ass. So, it's just a stupid insult. Wait, this was serious? At around 13 minutes in, I was thinking, this is a big setup. The punchline had better be good. Sorry to break your heart. You could do a video deconstructing this point by point. Me or Sargon of Akkad? I'm pretty sure he's asking you to do a video deconstructing your own video. Whoa, you really don't get it, do you? Men have too much power. Simple. How much power do you have? Let's see. As a man, I will earn more, be more likely to get into parliament, not have my reproductive system put into political question, and be less likely to be a victim of domestic violence and sexual abuse. I'm perfectly willing to accept that this is totally fucked up. The only totally fucked up thing here is your comment. Let's see. As a man, I can see your picture. Being male doesn't make you a man. Damn! That must have seriously hurt. Flawless shade, Sargon. Flawless shade. I will earn more. Will you? My ex is a particle physicist. I don't mean to be judgmental, but I doubt you'll earn more than her. Be more likely to get into parliament. Because you're more likely to run for parliament. But don't let that get in the way of your patriarchy narrative. Not have my reproductive system put into political question. Reproduction isn't, dummy. It's a termination of human life that is. Don't let me get in the way of your simplistic feminist talking points. And be less likely to be a victim of domestic violence. Don't let facts get in the way of your lies. And sexual abuse. My goodness, an actual problem, and yet these statistics are still widely overblown. I'm perfectly willing to accept that this is totally fucked up. I think I've proven why that is. Earn more. So women are just not running for parliament? That's what you think the problem is? Okay, two things. One, it's not what he thinks, it's what he knows. And two, it's not a problem. Representation of women in parliament worldwide. Okay, I hope you enjoy living in a life where you are only ever allowed to have sex with one woman and fathering lots of kids, because without contraceptive pills, you are fucked. Please, as if a fetus is any more of a life than the sperm you masturbate into your sock. You have no idea what the difference is between a fetus and a gamete, do you? Please, please stop talking. Just please stop talking. Rape. 99% of rape perpetrators are male. 91% of rape victims are female. Yeah, it's not as if those statistics are flawed. Oh wait, they are. After all, the definition excludes male victims who are forced to penetrate. So, no. Really, are you trying to make out that feminists are whining? You are the whiner. All you do is whine, whine, whine over claims of abuse in the male gender which have never been seen or heard of. Okay, this idiot. I'm not even going to get into this right now. As for the domestic abuse thing, this is a new development and something perfectly valid to take into account, which I agree with completely. But dude, men still have too much power. Check your privilege. Totally meant to piss you off by saying that. No, they don't, because men are not a fucking group. They are a demographic. They don't operate in concert, they don't have similarly aligned goals, and they don't do special favors for each other. In short, anyone who says something as specious as men have too much power is a fucking idiot. Demographic, when used as a noun, means a particular sector of the population. That sounds like a group to me. Pretty sure you're the idiot. Yes, I said it, and I'll say it again, men have too much power. Demographic, when used as a noun, means a particular sector of the population. That sounds like a group to me. Pretty sure you're the idiot. Don't be any more stupid than you need to be. A demographic is not a group. The demographic of men hold too much power. I can rephrase it as much as you like, and we can sit here calling each other idiots over the internet forever, but it doesn't change the fact. Yet to see your thoughts on the gender pay gap and the proportion of women in parliament, by the way. Demographics are not groups. Continue to be foolish if you wish. What does this have to do with anything? All of the CEOs of the multinational corporations are not part of one collective group, and it's pretty obvious they hold too much power. They may get together from time to time and plot world domination, but they are not part of the same group. In fact, they are often part of opposing groups. Being part of a group has nothing to do with this. Stop dancing around this issue and just accept it. I'm not dancing around anything, you fool. I have directly pointed out your mistake, and you continue to make facile points that stray from your own position. Enjoy your brainwashing. Just a heads up, group has various meanings, related but distinct. In some of them, a demographic can be a group. The term you're looking for is better rendered by organization, organized or structured group. On the other hand, I do agree that anyone saying that all men have so much power, much more than any and all women, is either naive, stupid, or deceptive. Proved me wrong. I don't see any counter-argument to the issues I raised regarding the gender pay gap, sexual assault, or women in parliament. All you've done is call me names, try to emasculate me, and said men aren't a group so you can't say we'd have more power, which doesn't make sense in itself. Sounds like a hashtag to me. I disagree. It is very safe that men hold too much power in relation to women, especially when putting this into a global context. Women in developing countries are routinely denied an education, have their genitals mutilated, and are put to death for promiscuity. To try and say, oh, but hey, every now and then there's an instance of a woman being mean to a man, just doesn't cut it. When putting in the global context, it makes absolutely no sense to bundle together the US, UK, and the Middle East. Social realities are completely different in those three parts. It is naive to focus solely on gender and make a reductionist analysis, ignoring all other factors. It is naive at best, fallacious and dishonest in most cases. And whether or not it is true that, generally speaking, there is more violence of a man against women within any particular region, which I am not even going to debate the truth value, that does not justify ignoring the few exceptions either. They exist, they are real, and for those particular cases, the mere fact they were born with a dick instead of a pussy did those particular persons no favor, and undermining their suffering, that is just as comparable to other people's suffering because of other people who happen to have the same thing between their legs as that particular individual have it better, is completely fallacious, irrational, and inhuman. No need to bundle? I think that global society has been pretty clear in this recent history as to how it universally maltreats women. Men hold too much power is a statement that is true because even the male victim of domestic abuse has more power than women as a whole. Black people beat up white people all the time in the USA, and it's still a true statement to say that the USA is a racist country because it imprisons black Americans at a much higher rate. Good shout. I salute you, fellow pedants. Give it up, man. Calm down and look at the nonsense you're spouting. A male victim of domestic violence has more power than women as a whole? How the fuck do you even think this could be substantiated? Dude, the site you show doesn't say that domestic abuse cases are something that affect only men. As a matter of fact, the stats seem to be rather unclear. Some state that men are more victims, and some state that it's equally distributed. Also, you completely disregard the part in this article that says that violent aggression, such as choking, is experienced mostly by women. How do you try and substantiate these claims? Where did I say it only affected men, you extremist? Yes, yawn. Why don't you look at every parliamentary system in the world and tell me how much men compared to women sit there? Like 80% men. How many times can you feminists repeat the same bullshit argument all the time? Did you ever possibly think maybe women choose different jobs than men? That is such a challenging concept for you, that not every little lack of a 50-50 representation in government is due to some invisible, all-knowing patriarchy. I know, it's really annoying that they keep spouting the same garbage that's been repeatedly debunked. They are really desperate. I can tell.